Have you ever felt as if you're constantly running on a never-ending treadmill, trying to fulfill countless responsibilities while feeling completely drained? You may be a son or daughter, a parent, a husband or wife, or an employee. Yet, despite all these roles, do you sometimes wonder whether you truly have any time left for yourself? Have you ever felt like you're simply surviving, moving from one task to another, without genuinely living your own life? In today's busy world, many people feel disconnected from themselves. We rush through our days, surrounded by people, yet often feeling isolated. We expect immediate results and rarely pause long enough to reflect on where our lives are heading. But what if there were a way to step out of this cycle? What if there were a path toward inner peace, courage, and wisdom that could completely change the way you live? In this Audiobook's summary of The Things You Can See Only When You Slow Down by Min Sunim, we'll explore powerful lessons for creating a calmer and more meaningful life. Stay with us until the end, and you'll discover how to find peace amid the noise, build deeper relationships, and reconnect with your authentic self. When you're feeling happy or sad, do you believe that the world around you is directly responsible for those emotions? Do you think reality itself determines your mood? Many people assume so, but according to the author, that's not entirely true. The world itself is objective. It simply exists as it is. What shapes our emotional experience is not the world, but how we interpret it. Poverty, joy, disappointment, and happiness are not automatically given to us by our surroundings. Instead, they arise from the meaning we attach to what happens around us. Research has repeatedly shown that the human brain tends to notice negative information before positive one. In other words, our minds are naturally wired to focus on problems first. So how can understanding this help us? The answer is simple. We must consciously train ourselves to recognize moments of joy and gratitude. Happiness is not determined entirely by external conditions. It depends largely on whether we choose to focus on what is positive or negative. A famous teaching attributed to Buddha says, "What you see reflects who you are." In other words, your view of the world often mirrors your state of mind. If you are filled with negativity, everything around you may seem negative. If you cultivate positivity, you'll begin noticing beauty and opportunities everywhere. For Buddha, every person reflected the same awakened nature. When your heart is joyful, the world feels joyful. When sadness dominates your mind, sadness appears everywhere you look. Ultimately, much of life depends on perspective. People can respond very differently to the exact same situation. One person finds peace, while another experiences stress. Imagine having a difficult day and suddenly viewing every event through that lens. It's easy to assume everything is going wrong. Yet often, the problem isn't reality itself. It's the temporary emotional state you're experiencing. Recognizing this is important. When you feel angry, frustrated, or upset, remember that these emotions are temporary. They are not permanent truths. Becoming aware of negative emotions allows you to stop them from controlling your thoughts and actions. Temporary anger or tension can even influence major decisions, but like clouds drifting across the sky, these emotions eventually pass. If they feel overwhelming, be patient. Give them time to dissolve naturally. You can also practice relaxation techniques. Focus on your breathing. Allow your body to soften. Let your mind become quiet. In those moments of stillness, you'll discover that peace has been available all along. Many readers ask Min Sunim how they can handle difficult emotions, such as anger, jealousy, resentment, and hatred. These feelings can be exhausting, and sometimes seem impossible to control. The first thing that pleases the author is when people become aware of their own mental state. Simply noticing that negative thoughts are appearing is already an important step. Awareness creates the opportunity for change. When negative emotions arise, what do you usually do? Many people try to suppress them, ignore them, or distract themselves with something else. Unfortunately, these strategies rarely solve the problem. Often, the emotions return even stronger than before. So what should you do instead? The next time a negative feeling appears, observe it carefully. Imagine you're standing on the side of a road watching someone walk past. Observe the emotion in the same way. Instead of identifying with it, simply notice it. When you realize that the emotion is something you're experiencing, not something you are, it loses much of its power over you. Of course, developing this level of awareness requires practice, but as your skill grows, you'll begin to feel lighter, calmer, and more emotionally balanced. Negative emotions are not permanent. They do not define your identity, nor do they represent reality itself. They are temporary experiences that come and go. Rather than resisting them, allow them to appear. Don't push them away or pretend they don't exist. Ironically, the more we resist emotions, the longer they tend to stay. It's impossible to prevent every moment of anger, jealousy, or frustration. These feelings are part of being human, but they always pass. Eventually, calmness returns. Your task is not to eliminate every negative emotion. Your task is simply to observe them, understand them, and patiently wait for them to move on.
Besides being an author, Haemin Sunim is also a scholar with a doctorate and an instructor of Buddhist meditation. Early in his teaching career, he was given the opportunity to lead a meditation course for university students. Since meditation had transformed his own life, he was eager to share its benefits with others. He entered the classroom full of enthusiasm. His hope was that his students would develop the same appreciation for meditation that he had. He imagined them turning to meditation whenever they faced stress, confusion, or challenges in life. At first, everything seemed promising. The students appeared interested and engaged. They could see the effort their professor put into every lesson. Haemin prepared each class carefully, bringing energy, dedication, and passion into every lecture. He even organized visits to monasteries and churches so students could expand their understanding of spiritual traditions. However, as the semester progressed, something changed. The excitement gradually faded. Many students became less interested and less attentive. Their enthusiasm seemed to disappear. This deeply disappointed Haemin. He felt hurt because he was investing so much effort while the students appeared increasingly disengaged. He couldn't understand why they weren't responding with the same passion he felt. Instead of reacting emotionally, he decided to examine his feelings carefully. Through reflection, he realized an important truth. His students were not living the same life he was. They weren't focused solely on meditation. They had many other classes, responsibilities, and concerns competing for their attention. Once he recognized this, he stopped expecting them to match his level of excitement. Rather than trying to pull them up to his energy level, he adjusted his approach to meet them where they were. Over time, something remarkable happened. The students slowly became interested again. By creating a balance between his enthusiasm and their reality, he became a more effective teacher. This lesson applies far beyond the classroom. Passion is powerful. It motivates us to pursue goals and improve ourselves. But excessive enthusiasm can sometimes become overwhelming for others. When we expect everyone to care about something as much as we do, disappointment often follows. You may encounter this in your own life. Perhaps you care deeply about a project, a hobby, or a personal goal. while those around you seem less committed. Instead of becoming frustrated, try focusing on cooperation rather than expectation. Success often depends on working with others at their pace, not forcing them to adopt yours. When people feel understood rather than pressured, everyone benefits. Healthy relationships provide more than companionship. They create a sense of safety, belonging, and emotional stability. During difficult times, having supportive people around us can make an enormous difference. Think about it. If you experience a painful breakup, will an expensive car comfort you? Will a luxurious home solve your emotional struggles? Material possessions have value, but they cannot replace human connection. Regardless of wealth or success, when hardship arrives, it is usually family members and close friends who stand beside us. If making friends feels difficult, the author suggests examining your attitude toward others. One common mistake is forming judgments too quickly. We often decide what someone is like before truly getting to know them. We assume we understand their personality based on limited interactions. The more open-minded you become, the easier it is to connect with people. Give others the opportunity to reveal who they really are. You may discover qualities that completely change your first impression. It's also important to remember that people frequently reflect the energy we give them. Imagine there's someone you'd like to befriend, but they seem distant or emotionally reserved. It may not be that they're unfriendly. They may simply perceive you in the same way and feel uncertain about approaching you. That's why openness matters. When you are warm and approachable, others feel more comfortable doing the same. While politeness is valuable, genuine friendship requires something deeper. Authentic connections develop when people communicate honestly and sincerely. When you speak from the heart, others often feel encouraged to do the same. People naturally gravitate towards those who make them feel welcomed and understood. But what happens when a friendship already exists and begins experiencing tension? Haimin Sunim faced a similar situation while backpacking across Europe with a friend he had met at a monastery. They shared many interests and enjoyed spending time together. Because his friend spoke very little English, Haimin stayed close to him throughout the journey. They explored cities together, visited attractions together, and spent nearly every moment side by side. For several days, everything went smoothly. Then, around the 7th day, they both began feeling restless. Nothing was wrong with their friendship. There were no arguments or disagreements, yet spending every waking moment together had become exhausting. Recognizing this, Hyman suggested that they spend one day exploring separately. His friend immediately agreed. After they parted ways, Hyman felt relieved. For the first time in days, he could make decisions entirely on his own. He didn't need to coordinate every activity or discussion. But as the day continued, he noticed something unexpected. He began to feel lonely. When he found something beautiful, there was no one beside him to share the experience with. If he wanted a photograph, there was no familiar friend to help him. The simple joy of companionship suddenly became obvious. That evening, when both travelers returned to their hotel, they excitedly exchanged stories about their separate adventures. Through this experience, Hyman gained an important insight. Relationships are like sitting near a fire on a cold evening. If you sit too far away, you won't receive its warmth. If you sit too close, the heat becomes uncomfortable. The same principle applies to human connections. Too much distance weakens relationships. Too much closeness can create feelings of suffocation or boredom. Healthy relationships require balance. Stay close enough to nurture connection, but allow enough space for individuality. Personal freedom strengthens relationships rather than weakening them. When people are given room to grow and breathe, their bonds often become stronger and more lasting.
Love is one of the most discussed subjects in human history. Philosophers, poets, artists, and writers have spent centuries trying to understand it. Love has the power to bring incredible joy into our lives, but it can also become a source of deep pain and heartbreak. Through his own experiences, Haemin Sunim came to believe that love is often shy. The more desperately we chase after it, the more it seems to slip away. Yet there are moments when love appears unexpectedly, arriving when we least expect it. There is something truly beautiful about love. It fills life with warmth, meaning, and happiness. In many ways, it is one of the greatest gifts we can experience. Love can make ordinary moments feel extraordinary. It can turn a simple smile into something unforgettable. When we are in love, the world often appears brighter and more beautiful. We begin noticing things we once overlooked. Even difficult days seem easier to endure when we feel connected to someone we care about. However, just as we learned in earlier chapters, balance remains important. Love should not become obsession. Passion should not become possessiveness. If your emotions become too intense, they can place pressure on the other person and unintentionally push them away. Every healthy relationship requires space. Just as friendships need balance between closeness and independence, romantic relationships need the same balance. Two people should grow together while still maintaining their individuality. If you have feelings for someone but are afraid to express them, Haemin shares a story that may encourage you. After giving a public lecture on religion, a young woman approached him. She shyly offered him a bottle of warm soy milk and said that she had nothing else to give him. She simply wanted to thank him because his words had touched her heart. Before Haemin could properly respond or continue the conversation, she disappeared into the crowd. He never saw her again. For a long time, he regretted missing the opportunity to speak with her further. He wanted to thank her for her sincerity and kindness. Her simple gesture had left a lasting impression on him. Why did it affect him so deeply? Because, despite being respected by many people, Haemin considered himself an ordinary person. He understood that beneath titles, achievements, and public recognition, people are simply human beings. No matter how successful or famous someone appears, they have experienced disappointment, pain, loneliness, and struggle. They have faced difficulties and emotional wounds just like everyone else. So if you ever hesitate to express your feelings because you think someone is beyond your reach, remember this lesson. The person you admire may be far more human and approachable than you imagine. When meeting someone for the first time, what questions do we usually ask? Most people begin by asking for a name. Soon after, they ask about work, education, or professional achievements. These are natural questions and often help start conversations. But Haemin began wondering why we place so much importance on these details. Why do we often evaluate people based on their job titles, income, or academic qualifications? Can such information truly reveal who someone is? According to Haemin, a person's identity is much deeper than their career or educational background. What truly matters is their character, values, experiences, and the way they choose to share themselves with others. As he entered his 30s, he began increasingly attentive to human behavior and conversations. During that time, he discovered several insights that helped him understand happiness more clearly. The first realization was surprisingly liberating. People are not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are you. Haemin noticed that he rarely remembered small details about other people. He often couldn't recall what a friend had worn the previous week or how they styled their hair. Then he realized something important. If he didn't spend much time analyzing others, they probably weren't analyzing him either. This understanding freed him from unnecessary worry.
Many of us spend a great deal of energy wondering what others think about us. In reality, most people are focused on their own lives, challenges, and concerns. The second lesson was equally important. Not everyone has to like you. Think about it honestly. Do you personally like every single person you meet? Probably not. Since you don't connect with everyone, why should you expect everyone to connect with you? If someone appreciates you, that's wonderful. If they don't, that's perfectly acceptable too. Their opinion doesn't determine your worth. Trying to satisfy everyone is exhausting because it's impossible. Accepting this fact brings tremendous freedom. The third insight was perhaps the most challenging. Many things we claim to do for others are at least partially done for ourselves. For example, you may worry deeply about your family because you love them. You may fear losing a partner because the thought of loneliness is painful. Human motivations are often more complex than they initially appear. Heyman concluded that a certain degree of self-interest exists in almost everyone. Unless someone reaches extraordinary spiritual enlightenment, complete selflessness is rare. Rather than feeling guilty about this reality, he encourages honesty. Be truthful with yourself about your motivations. If your heart is generous, you'll naturally create more generosity around you. If you constantly focus only on yourself, you'll experience the consequences of that mindset as well. Ultimately, life becomes much simpler when you stop overcomplicating it. Focus on what you can do today instead of constantly worrying about every possible future outcome. Life already contains enough challenges. There is no need to create additional ones through endless anxiety. Sometimes happiness comes from embracing simple truths and allowing yourself to enjoy the present moment.
As a child, Heyman Sunim never considered himself exceptional. He saw himself as an average student from an average family. His grades were respectable, but not extraordinary. His family's financial situation was ordinary, and he never imagined that he would one day become a well-known spiritual teacher and author. One person, however, saw something special in him. Her name was Miss Lee, his third-grade teacher. Miss Lee was famous for being strict. Students feared her because she maintained discipline and expected everyone to behave properly. Young Heyman Sunim was especially intimidated by her. One day, Miss Lee's son invited him over to play with some new toys. At first, Heyman refused because he worried that his teacher might unexpectedly return home and catch him there. His friend reassured him that his mother wouldn't be back until later, so eventually he agreed. The two boys became completely absorbed in their games and lost track of time. Then the front door opened. Miss Lee had returned. Heyman immediately panicked. He expected to be scolded by the strict teacher who intimidated everyone at school. Instead, something completely unexpected happened. Miss Lee greeted him warmly, offered snacks to both boys, and treated him with kindness and affection. The stern teacher he knew in the classroom suddenly seemed like a caring aunt. Confused, Heyman listened as she explained that her strictness at school was necessary to help students learn and stay focused. Before he left that day, Miss Lee shared words that would stay with him for years. She told him that he was a good student and a positive example for others. More importantly, she said she believed he would grow up to accomplish meaningful things and bring happiness into other people's lives.
Those words had a profound impact on him. Someone had believed in him before he fully believed in himself. That encouragement became a source of motivation throughout his life. It pushed him to work harder, learn more, and strive to become the person she believed he could be. There is incredible power in having someone support you wholeheartedly. Knowing that another person believes in your potential can create confidence, hope, and determination. If you have people who encourage and support you, appreciate them. Their faith in you is a gift. And whenever possible, become that person for someone else. Your words may seem small, but they have the power to inspire, encourage, and transform another person's future in ways you may never fully realize.
Within Buddhism, there is a well-known principle called the law of karma. This concept is also reflected in many other spiritual traditions around the world. The basic idea is simple. Your actions create consequences. In other words, what you give to the world eventually returns to you in one form or another. The saying, "You reap what you sow," captures the essence of this teaching. Kind actions often lead to positive outcomes, while harmful actions tend to create difficulties. The choices we make shape the experiences we encounter later in life. Although Haemin Sunim was strongly influenced by Buddhist teachings, he was also inspired by wisdom found in other religions. During his university years, he spent considerable time studying Christianity and was fascinated by the similarities he discovered between different faiths. As he explored various traditions, he realized that many spiritual lessons are universal. Compassion, forgiveness, humility, gratitude, and love appear repeatedly across different religions and cultures. This understanding helped him see spirituality from a broader perspective. No single religion owns the truth completely. While traditions may differ in rituals, customs, and practices, many of their core teachings point towards similar values and principles. A memorable experience reinforced this belief. One day, Haemin and several fellow Buddhist monks visited a small village in France. There, they encountered a Christian monastic community and spent several days living alongside them. During their stay, Haemin noticed many unexpected similarities between the two traditions. For example, both Buddhist monks and Christian monks wore special robes, although the styles and colors were different. Both communities dedicated significant time to prayer, contemplation, and spiritual practice. Both emphasized discipline, simplicity, and devotion. The Christian monks wore rings symbolizing their commitment to God, while Buddhist practitioners honored the Buddha through rituals such as lighting incense. Although the external forms differed, the underlying intention often felt remarkably similar. This experience taught Haemin that faith means different things to different people. The world contains many religions, and each offers valuable insights into life, purpose, and human nature. Rather than competing with one another, religions can provide opportunities to learn from each other. In reality, no religion exists solely to create division. At their best, spiritual traditions guide people towards truth, compassion, and inner growth. The important lesson is not determining which religion is superior. The important lesson is learning to respect the beliefs of others while remaining faithful to your own values. When we approach spirituality with openness and humility, we discover that there is far more connecting us than separating us.
Throughout this AZ Books summary, we've explored 8 important areas of life that deserve our attention. By developing these areas, we can create a calmer, happier, and more meaningful existence. The first area is rest. Modern life moves at an incredible speed. Many people sacrifice their health and peace of mind while constantly chasing success, money, and productivity. Yet true wisdom often appears when we slow down. Taking time to rest allows us to reflect, recharge, and reconnect with ourselves. Endless busyness may seem productive, but it can quietly damage our mental and emotional well-being. The second area is mindfulness. Mindfulness means paying attention to your thoughts and emotions without judgment. Negative feelings such as anger, frustration, and sadness are natural parts of life. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. By becoming aware of them, we gain the ability to understand and eventually move beyond them. Remember that these emotions are temporary experiences, not permanent parts of who you are. The next area is passion. Passion provides energy, motivation, and purpose. It pushes us towards growth and achievement. However, passion must be balanced with understanding. Not everyone shares the same enthusiasm or level of commitment. Learning to work harmoniously with others often produces better results than expecting everyone to match your intensity. The fourth area is relationships. Strong relationships provide support, comfort, and stability during life's challenges. We all need people who stand beside us during both joyous and difficult times. At the same time, healthy relationships require boundaries. Giving both yourself and others enough space helps maintain long-lasting and meaningful connections. The fifth area is love. Love is one of the most beautiful experiences available to us. It brings warmth, joy, and healing. Love has the power to mend wounds that seem impossible to repair. The more kindness, care, and compassion you share with others, the more these qualities tend to return to your own life. The sixth area is life itself. There are several important truths worth remembering. Most people are not paying as much attention to you as you imagine. Not everyone needs to approve you, and that's perfectly okay. Human beings are imperfect, and a certain amount of self-interest is natural. Accepting these realities can reduce unnecessary stress and help you live more authentically. The seventh area is the future. Never underestimate the influence your words can have on another person. A simple expression of encouragement can change someone's confidence, direction, and outlook on life. Whenever possible, choose words that inspire, teach, and uplift. You may positively affect lives without ever realizing it. The eighth and final area is spirituality. The world is home to many different faiths and belief systems. While their practices may vary, many share common values rooted in compassion, kindness, and truth. Rather than arguing about which path is correct, we can focus on learning from each other and respecting different perspectives. In today's world, love, understanding, and peace are needed more than division and conflict. The lessons in this book are not complicated. In fact, their power comes from their simplicity. Haemin Sunim reminds us that meaningful change does not require dramatic actions. Small daily habits, thoughtful reflection, and mindful living can gradually transform our lives. By applying these principles consistently, you'll likely discover greater freedom, deeper happiness, and a stronger sense of inner peace.
Thank you for listening to this AZ Books summary of The Things You Can See Only When You Slow Down by Heyman Sunim. We hope the ideas shared in this book have inspired you to slow down, reflect more deeply, and find greater peace in your everyday life. Remember, a calmer and more fulfilling life doesn't happen overnight. It begins with small, intentional steps taken each day. If you enjoyed this summary and found it valuable, be sure to subscribe to AZ Books for more insightful audiobook summaries that bring the wisdom of great books directly to you. Don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and leave a comment below telling us your thoughts and favorite lesson from the book. As you move forward, try to put these teachings into practice. Take time to rest. Be mindful of your emotions. Nurture meaningful relationships. Show kindness. Embrace love. And never stop learning and growing. Sometimes the most important moments in life are the quietest ones. Slow down. Stay present. Appreciate the simple things. Until next time, thank you for being part of AZ Books. Take care, keep learning, and keep growing.